What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Onyx Report, Black Masculinist news for the day. Got a special Father's Day treat for my brethren here on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and Twitter. Hope all is well out there. Man, shout out to Wrench Turner. Appreciate that support. Set on the wood for the greater good. Most appreciated. Mark, appreciate that acknowledgement, brother. Trying to do what I can. What's up, Clutch? Shout out to Ian. Appreciate all the work you do, brother. Brother Heyru, what's going on? You know, we're getting it in. Hybrid, what's up? Prince Johnny, Ben, D. Yeah, man. Like, share, subscribe, join, and donate if you will. Support the channel so we can continue to give you this unique Black male content. You know what it is. About to start the weekend, but I couldn't do so without extending a happy Father's Day to all my brethren out there who are doing what they do. Whether you are unsung or not, I shout you out. You know, blessed Father's Day to you. And that comes from the heart. My gift to you tonight, however, is a bit of a dialogue. I wanted to start this out with my good brother because he's not only a father, red pill father at that. He's technically a red pill father and a black pill father. And then you got to add to that grandfather for both pills. So I thought it would be good to get some insight from him in terms of how he raised his daughter, how he raises his grandchildren, but then invite you up, you know, within 15 or 20 minutes or so, for those of you who have some thoughts to share about what it means to be a red pill father, so we can actually generate a conversation. Because I think the prevailing stereotype is that if you're red pill or black pill for that matter, if you're in this circle on YouTube, you hate women, right? That's the whole thing. And then the question, you know, inevitably comes up, well, what happens if you have daughters? You know, and people who are being crass about it will just say, well, you're a misogynist, therefore you must hate your daughters too. And I found that, you know, in this community in particular, I've seen more fathers who are loving and protective as anybody else, if not more, but just have a different philosophy about it. So let me invite my brother up. Welcome to BGS IBMOR. What's going on, man?
Hey, Doc, what's happening?
You man. I had to kind of bring you in to create this Father's Day gift for the community, because I think it's a conversation that should be had. Or rather, I probably should say should be had again, because I'm sure somebody's had it in the last number of years. But I wanted to ask you about that while we still got people coming in. We got MLR, what's going on? See you coming through. Ghetto User, what's happening? You know, good to see you. Trey, what's up? Tell us a little bit about what it is. Ghetto User, appreciate that support. Vincent, what's up? What does it mean to be red pill or black pill? I should say, and or black pill. What does it mean to be a red pill and or black pill father of daughters? Right.
Oh, it's different. It is different because a lot of guys that have daughters see their daughters as angels, and they are angels. Don't get me wrong, they're angels. But your sons and your daughters are both angels.
Okay.
And you are more protective of them. And being more protective of them, that means as red pill, you want to give them the truth.
Okay.
You know, you don't want to, you're not trying to sugarcoat the world. So you're trying to, as a red pill father, you're trying to raise the most effective child that you can raise, the most knowledgeable, powerful child that you can raise. Okay. And that's what you focus on. So, and it's, and there's always that balance between being stern enough to actually get things done and soft enough or loving enough to actually encourage them. The thing is that I think what women see about saying you hate your daughters, you hate your child, or whatever, your red pill, is they're expecting like I said, your emotional labor or your emotional care to be the same as a mother's, and it's not.
Okay.
and as a red pill father, you take the father's role a lot more seriously. Okay,
Right.
so um, and I mean, it's different because like even though I can be stern, I can be, I can be harsh, I can be strict on occasion. I also and I also don't treat my children like dolls or like objects. I treat them as human beings, right? And it's my job to raise a human being. And as a red pill father, that's what it is. I'm trying to raise the best human being I can. So um, even from the time they could talk, I start having conversations with my children and my daughters. Okay,
Mm.
about um, and I said, just to cuss a little bit. I said, I always give my kids at least one or two fuck ups.
Okay.
Okay, if you do something once, okay, that means you didn't know. That's that.
Mm.
So how some emotional parents, like especially mothers, if the kid cuts up once, and my ex did it a lot. Kid cuts up once, we want to beat the hell out of the kid. No, the kid didn't know.
Well, okay.
So
So
you sit
tell me.
down. So you sit down and have a conversation. Go ahead.
Well, let me. Okay, so let me come at it this way. So one of the things I noticed, because
Hmm.
I'm obviously I'm a father of a son.
Right.
Uh, Shout out to Vincent. Appreciate that support. Um, I did have a daughter, but
Hmm.
she passed in womb, so
Hmm.
I never raised a daughter.
Hmm.
Um, especially when they're little, one of the things I notice is that fathers go crazy. They bend over backwards. She's
Right.
a princess, and that's all well
Right.
and good. I don't,
Hmm.
whatever. But how does a red pill father differentiate his paternal style from anybody else? What especially even when they're young, what do you do differently? How does that come across?
But you're talking about between a son and a daughter. Is that
No,
what
no,
you're
no.
asking?
Between red and blue, what
Oh,
the
okay.
fathering, how is the fathering different when you're raising, especially a young daughter? The
Hmm.
typical thing you see is fathers, bend over backward. That's little
Hmm.
princess.
The
And
little
I'm not saying
princess.
there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just
Right.
saying, how is red pill fathering different?
I think with the red pill fathering, um, you're probably a little stricter, and you don't. She's not she's daddy's daughter. She's your baby, but she's not an angel. Okay, she's a human
Okay.
being, and
Okay.
she's gonna mess up just like anybody else, and she's got to be corrected just like anybody else, and she's got to be taught just like anybody else. And I think a lot of blue pill fathers, for lack of a better term, that think that daddy's daughter can't do no wrong, depend on the mother to discipline the daughter.
Okay.
So daddy's daughter will let daughter get away with everything,
Okay.
and the mother has to step in.
Can you think of a scenario? We got two people putting in the BGS tax, Vincent and Jeff. So, but can you think of a scenario where you either talked to someone or you heard of a father that did something that you didn't approve of based on your red pill orientation?
um, they normally don't tell me because they know what I'm going to say.
Well, but
But
even if
yeah, but I heard, we're um
even
we're
something you may have even seen,
I,
on a news report or a movie.
where I've seen fathers where they're completely hard ass on their sons,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and then the little girl can get away with anything and hit the son, take his toys, whatever, and she can do no wrong.
Okay.
Okay, she can do no wrong, and there's a big conflict between the boys and the girls because daddy, you let her get away with everything. Well, but she's a girl, you can't do that to her. Yeah, well, you can't hit her back because she's a girl, or you can't take her toy because she's a girl, and she runs a house.
Mm.
And you ever seen the little girl that has daddy wrapped around her finger? Yeah. Well, where she frowns, and all of a sudden daddy goes like into timeout where because she disapproves of what he did, and he wants to keep her laughing and joyous all the time, so he buys her a whole bunch of stuff, and he dotes on her and stuff like that.
Which I would say society applauds,
Yeah.
but I don't think we talk about that long term in terms of what that does
Hmm.
to little girls over time.
Yeah.
Talk about what that contributes to. What does that tend to do?
What the thing is that what in my opinion what it tends to do is as long as when the little girl is small before she hits puberty, everything is good. But the thing is, when she has to get out in the real world and deal with boys, and she's expecting boys and other males to treat her like daddy does, and they don't. And that's where the
Mm,
problem comes in,
mm.
because
So
she gets this big wake up call, because she's expecting to rule the roost and rule over the boys, just like daddy does. See that? Yeah.
yeah, man.
And then there's a wake up call, because they don't. Then they have to figure the next 20 years trying to figure out men,
Uh-huh. Okay, so
because
you're saying it damages their social
yes,
engagements with men.
men, yeah.
So even though you might have the inclination to want to put her on a little pedestal,
Hmm.
you're actually sacrificing for her betterment
Right.
by treating her like a human being rather than a special
Yeah.
princess.
It's a special. Yeah, I mean, anybody that's ever been around, worked with a special princess where daddy has doted on her, and she goes out to the real world, they sometimes they can be insufferable.
Mm, mm.
Because those are the ones that have an attitude when they don't get their way. Those are the ones that don't like to cooperate. Those are the ones that think because they walked in, and no matter how they look, they're supposed to get special treatment.
Right.
And so it's harder for them to actually engage with other people,
Now
because
this
daddy has run the house, and daddy's run the house around her.
Now, this is a little counterintuitive because everybody says that you're supposed to, especially in the black community,
Hmm.
fathers are supposed to, spoil daughters really because of the state of black fatherhood since the
Hmm.
1970s. So when you are a father, especially of a daughter, you do whatever you want to your boys, as
Hmm.
long as you kind of on the back end teach them manhood at some point. But when it comes to girls, you're supposed to bend over backward to cater
Hmm.
to her because the lack of fathers, because of the
Right.
the deadbeat narrative with black men as fathers. What do you say to that when people come at you with that?
I say what I say that number one, you're doing your daughter a disservice, you know,
Mm,
and you are actually slowing down her, not only uh, psychological progress, but also her emotional progress.
okay, okay.
Because you haven't, I'm not saying that you treat her like a boy, because you can't. Okay, I'm not saying
Mhm,
that. Okay,
mhm.
there's even with the punishments, there's some things that a girl responds to that a boy won't. Okay, and vice versa. So I'm not
Okay,
saying that. What I'm saying is that you have to have an equal amount of strictness and sternness, um,
okay.
for girls and boys, and mostly, what we consider patriarchal families, right?
Mhm.
Stern patriarchal families, where women came out of good homes. They come from a strict father, and the father does not dote on the daughter. She has to toe her line just like everybody else. He doesn't dote on her, and um, he doesn't treat her uh, with any more specialness than the other children.
Now, what would you say? Because I know what your ass. This probably you just had this in you even when you were young. But for a guy who doesn't have it in him, for a guy who really wants to spoil his daughter, but has come to the logical conclusion that that would do her harm. What do you suggest for those guys where this kind of view isn't naturally there? They have to work at it. What would you tell them to do?
Basically, I would say, just for a minute, stop thinking of her as a girl. Okay,
Mm, okay.
stop thinking of her as a girl for a second. Okay,
Hmm.
and try to raise the best human being that you can.
Okay.
And think of it. Would you want a spoiled ass girlfriend?
I, I've
So
had some.
wait, so are you raising a spoiled ass girlfriend for the next man? Is that what you want? Is that the legacy you want to have for your little girl? You know,
I think.
unless she's like a 9 or a 10, I would suggest you didn't do it.
Well, no, I think, and this reminds me of something Shaq was talking about recently, where he was saying his sons had to move out, his daughters could
Hmm.
stay forever.
Hmm.
There's a way, and I mean this non-sexually, but there's a way that fathers can end up becoming permanent husbands,
Hmm.
on an emotional level to girls, to the point where some won't even disassociate from dad to get in relationships because they
Hmm.
don't believe that any man is going to be able to
And
live
be
up
good.
to her father.
Nobody's good enough.
Nobody's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had boys that have spoiled their daughters even at a young age. I could look at it and say, "Yep, she ain't going nowhere.
Hmm.
Ain't nobody
And,
doing all of that."
and she's gonna have, and she's gonna, unless she meets the exact right man that's just like her father, that's willing to spoil her like her father, she's always gonna have trouble in her relationships.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We got we got Ace Butterfly in the comments. She has two
Mhm.
comments. One, she said, "What about affection?" And then the second, she says, "Sometimes it's good to spoil your daughters so they have positive self-esteem and are not attracted to riffraff." What do you have to say to that?
Well, number one is as far as spoiling. Okay, I have a rule, right? Okay, for every I give it's 100 to 1 rule, right? For every punishment I give 100 hugs.
Okay.
And that's for the boys and the girls. Okay.
Okay.
Affection should be shown to boys and girls. If you're an affectionate person, it should be shown to all your children, right? All my children, because I come from a southern home, right, where they were sharecroppers and you didn't get no hugs. Okay. It was
Mm-hmm.
brutal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Affection was not part of the deal, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
come from that stock, right?
My
So
family
I
too.
had to
Yeah.
teach myself and teach my children to hug and kiss and all that kind of stuff. My daughter is in her 30s, right? When she walks in through the door, the first thing she does is give me a kiss on the cheek and a hug. But
Mm-hmm.
she's been doing that since she was a year old.
Okay.
But my son, okay, my son is his mid 30s. Okay, when he walks into the door, he gives me a hug.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's affection. Okay,
Right.
that's affection. I started with them when they before they could talk.
Right.
Okay, so affection doesn't, being strict or being having boundaries doesn't mean that you're not affectionate.
Mm. Okay. And so how would you differentiate between a red and a black pill approach to raising a daughter?
Okay, um, the black pill it basically is a lot less ideological, right? Is
Okay.
because in a black pill scenario, you see a path for your child, and sometimes that child, is going to bring that child some discomfort.
Okay.
Okay, like a tiger mom. Like most Asians are black pill with their children. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't care that you don't want to study 3 4 hours a day. You're going to study, and you're going to do this from the time that you're 5 years old, and it doesn't matter that you cry. I mean, I would say that as far as my grandson, I used to do it with my daughter, but even more so with my grandson. He's 3. Okay, and to teach him to write, it had to be an hour on a whiteboard. Him making the shapes over and over again. Me erasing it, him doing it again. Me
Right.
erasing it, doing it again. I'm not being mean, but I'm being strict, and I'm being pushy. And
Okay.
sometimes, he's had enough. Okay, okay, it's time for you. Time for you to go. But the thing is, he learned how to write faster than anybody else,
Uh-huh. Right.
and it advanced his educational career faster than anybody else, because that's black pill. And sometimes with red pill, you can still have some kind of, I'm not saying compassion, but sometimes you can that emotion can leak in. Maybe I'm being way too hard. Okay, with black pill, I'm going to be just hard enough to get the right effect without breaking the child.
So there are certain things that are going to happen regardless, and you
You know, certain
decide that
right
before, or even
before.
when they're just coming out the womb, you
They
already
come,
know
and
these are
all you
things
know.
that are going to happen at certain ages.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then the kid's pissed off at you for 6 months until one day, um, the teacher gives them an award, or the teacher has them read in front of the class, or the teacher pats him on the head and gives them that part of reinforcement and said, "Okay, I see what Dad was doing and it worked."
Okay. Okay. What now this is something Uneducated Lane brought up a little minute ago. I put it on the screen, and he
Hmm.
talked about the whole scenario behind girls hitting boys. And one of the things many of us heard when we were growing up
Hmm.
was, especially when boys and girls are around the same strength,
Yeah.
and she hits you,
Hmm.
everybody will come running to grab a boy,
Right.
even when he's just as strong as a girl, and say, "Don't you touch her, don't
Hmm.
you hit her." And he's like, "She just pop me in the jaw," you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And you have that kind of thing. Talk a little bit about how you navigate that as a red pill father, and then talk about the adult end of that. See, this is one of the reasons I'm glad to have you here, because you have adult children.
Hmm.
You've raised them from when they were little, and you have grandchildren. We're going to get to
Hmm.
grandchildren in a minute. But
Hmm.
since you've had daughters from childhood to adulthood, what happens when she puts hands on a grown man? and it comes back to you. So I want to start with the child component of that,
Okay.
and I'm going to deal with the adult component. What?
Okay. And then you got to remember, I come from a different era where that kind of stuff wasn't allowed. Okay. If uh, if you're bold enough to put your hands on somebody, then you have to expect results coming back. There was no such thing as she's a girl.
Mhm.
Okay. And I was taught that if a girl doesn't want to be hit, she stays in a girl's or woman's place. Okay. She ain't supposed to lift her hand to a man. I don't care how mad she is.
Mhm.
She should use her words. I teach my kids, use your words. But if
Okay.
you have to defend yourself, uh, then all holds bars. Is that don't in other words, you never hit first. Okay,
Okay.
but defend yourself at all costs. And if I don't care if it's a guy against a woman or vice versa. Okay, number one, the guy's not supposed to initiate any kind of violence against a woman. Period. I don't care
Mhm.
what she says. Walk away.
Mhm.
I don't care if I don't care if she can call you everything but a child of God. Walk away. You ain't got to hit her. You got to slap her. Okay, those are just words.
Right.
She put your hands on you. Okay, that's a different story. Okay, then
Mhm.
she's taken herself out of the place of a woman and put herself in the place of a man.
Mm.
I
Mm.
teach my daughters that. I tell my daughter that from an early age. Don't hit nobody unless you want to get hit.
Mm.
Don't
Shout
put
out
your hands
to
on somebody unless you want to get hit.
the Fire 100 podcast. Says my sister got a free pass to hit me and my cousins.
Yeah,
Queen Kalila says, "Yep, that's what I teach my stepdaughter. Her mother teaches her differently." Uh-oh.
yeah, yeah. I think that's wrong, and I think that and also it sets women, it sets girls and women up because there's gonna be a dude that ain't gonna take that. Okay,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it ain't
Oh
gonna
yeah.
take that, because I taught my sons and all the boys, my nephew, my sons, all the people around me. Okay, fighting for little boys. Okay, fighting is for little boys for the most part, right? Okay,
Mhm.
fighting really not for grown men.
Mm.
Okay, it's because grown men do damage. Okay,
Okay.
fighting is just something to do for it's almost like play for little boys. You might get hurt, you may or may not get hurt, you may get a bloody nose, something may happen to you. The thing is, as a grown man, that could cost you your life.
Mhm.
You can't play around with that.
Mhm.
And far too often what will happen is a grown woman will grow up entitled that she can put her hands on a man,
Mm.
and that man may not be able to take it that day, and she comes home and she's hurt, and then she's going to go get everybody else to come get that guy, and then somebody's going to wind up in prison
Mm. Or
or
worse.
killed. Yeah,
Yeah.
or worse.
Yeah.
And that has I'm not going to tell the story, but that has happened. Okay,
Mm.
where I had to check had to check my daughter. Okay,
Mhm. Right.
don't and it has happened. I said, don't. I said it's one thing to I'll back you up if somebody comes for you. Okay, but I ain't gonna back you if you call for an ass whipping. Okay, you call for ass whipping, you got to take that ass whipping.
Now, what is the effect of that kind of teaching on a daughter, even an adult one? What do you think they learn differently than a daughter who doesn't get that kind of parenting?
Um, you know what? And I could say this, and and my daughter's a very pretty girl, and she has dated liberally. Okay, and the thing is, it has it come up a time or two, and since she's been dating since she was like 17. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and she's in her she's close to her mid 30s. Okay, I can count on one hand the incidences uh where hands were actually thrown and people had to intervene,
Mm-hmm.
maybe twice. I don't have, there's not this constant fisticuffs or putting hands on people. And the biggest thing I can say as a red pill father, demonstrating that is basically them not seeing me putting my hands on their mother.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They've never seen me lift a finger to their mother.
So you
Okay.
waited till they weren't in the room. I see. Okay.
No, no, no.
Just
Well, the
playing.
thing,
I'm just playing.
no, okay. I'll tell you about me, right? And this has been all my girlfriends, okay? Because I grew up in a household where that could be a regular occurrence, okay?
Mhm. Both
And I tell
ways. Mother
if oh, oh,
attacking father and
oh,
father attacking mother.
I tell sisters about especially sisters from the South.
Right.
What about the boiling pot on the stove at midnight?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they all get quiet. Okay, it goes both ways. Well, but the thing is that when I grew up, I said that wasn't going to be me. I said, and I would tell my girlfriends from the rip, right, within a week or two, where we're actually going to commit. or become a regular occurrence, I said, there's two things, right? I said, um, I will never, I said, I will never put my hands on you. Okay. I will never, I said, no matter how we argue, how mad I am, I'm not going to put my hands on you. But the thing is, I'm not going to allow you to put your hands on me ever. Okay. I said, two things going to happen if you put your hands on me. You're going to get hurt. You may have a trip to the hospital and the relationship is over. There will be no coming back that you put your hands on me and when we're still talking. We're done
Mm.
because I don't want to live that way. I said, I want to have a reason to actually think that you're going to put your hands on me, so I have to defend myself. I don't want to live that way. And I could tell you, me and their mother have known each other for, God, 35 years. Okay. I have never put my hands on that woman. Not once, I think once, because she had to test me once. And
Oh
I
wow.
and
Yeah.
I didn't hit her, but she got the message that it wasn't a good idea to lift her hands to me. And
Okay.
after that, she's been mad and she's been spitting mad, but she's never lifted her hands to me or vice versa.
Mm.
And so none of my girlfriends have ever hit me.
Mm-hmm.
They've never hit me.
Yeah.
Never slapped me, hit me, punched me, done anything untoward things because we've gotten that straight. Because that's the first thing about being red pilled and teaching your daughter not to put her hands on a man or vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. It's because you demonstrate it.
Yeah. So they grow up seeing it
They grew up
and
seeing it.
and act accordingly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that if you gotta use violence to stay in a relationship, that's not the relationship for you. That's the first thing I'm
Indeed.
telling. And I always tell, I've told this to my sisters growing up, right? He's got one time to put his hands on you, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we will defend you if he puts his hands on you. Okay. But you can't go back
Right.
because he
Yeah.
puts his hands on you, you're done with him as far as we're concerned. But the next time you go back, the next time he puts his hands on you, okay, I'm gonna step over your body.
Mm. Wow. Yep.
Because women play with this, right? And too many people get hurt, too many people get killed, too many people get assaulted because somebody's playing with violence. Should never be played with. First thing that I think a woman should do, or any spouse should do, right, is protect the sanctity in the livelihood and the freedom of somebody that you love. Never put your brother or your loved one or your uncle at a point where they're going to actually have to kill somebody or go to jail, right? Because you're mad.
Well,
Okay.
there was a time where that was viewed as a sacred charge, whether it was a wife, a girlfriend, or a sister. She knew that, especially if you're talking about the South in the 50s or something like that. She
Mhm.
knew her brothers and her fathers would sacrifice their lives to protect her. But
Yeah.
she was very particular about what she shared because
Yeah.
she knew it could easily become a life or death dynamic.
It could be. And I want to answer Ace
Oh,
Butterfly.
but
Okay.
before you do, let me just finish
Okay.
this thought.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just want to be clear because the reason I brought that up is I
Mhm.
don't think it's treated with the
Yeah.
type of respect that it used to be.
It's not.
It's abused. In fact, men are treated like pit bulls on leashes rather than the respect women would have for making sure their fathers and brothers or husbands or boyfriends didn't end up in a casket behind protecting her honor.
Exactly.
But go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ace Butterfly. I have no clue about mothers and them staying in violence. I don't agree with it. Since I'm not a woman. I'm not a mother. I'm not a wife. I can't really answer that. A lot of women like abusive relationships, believe it or not, because they grew up in it, and they treat abuse as love. They really do.
Yeah.
Because I had a girlfriend that she wanted to treat abuse as love, and said, I told her, you need to find another man
All right.
because that's not me.
I remember in high school I had one of those relationships
Hmm.
where I was with this woman and I remember when she told me we can't be together and I was like, "Okay, why?" She said, "Well, cuz you don't love me." I said, "Well, what makes you think I don't love you?" I didn't. I wasn't at that point yet. But I was like, "Why do you think that?" She said, "Well, cuz you won't hit me."
Hmm.
Like, "What?" And so we broke up and I found out a few weeks later, she was waiting for her man to get out of prison.
Hmm.
He put him there for hitting her, and
Hmm.
he was the first one there when he got out. And I said, "See
Hmm.
that level of dysfunction?
Hmm.
I don't need." Just to let y'all know, I put the link in the chat. So anybody, fathers in particular, fathers of daughters, I'll count it if you have some nieces and you're instrumental in their lives. But fathers of daughters, if you want to come up and share some insight, share some experiences, or ask some questions, take it. This is the opportunity to do so. So I'm gonna put the link in the chat one more time. Y'all can come up, but go ahead, man. Continue with where
Yeah,
you.
because I think a lot of guys get into those kind of relationships, man, and because they're addicted to the sex and they think they're gonna miss out. And the thing is that, um, like I said, growing up and seeing that, it's like, um, you got to take your L. A lot of guys don't want to take their L, okay,
Mm,
because sex is good, is because she's pretty or whatever it is that she has. Um, they won't stand their ground and said, I'm not, you can't put your hands on me, and vice versa, and be willing to, send her off to find somebody more suitable. It's just not
mm,
you.
mm.
Take
Okay.
your loss. A lot of guys don't want to take an L.
Now, tell me a little bit about what it is to grandfather as
Hmm.
red pill. How is that different from the traditional grandfather?
Okay. Especially in the black community, man, because you got, because you you actually have more women involved in it. Okay, so it's a little harder.
Okay.
And the more women, if the women have not used to being around you, then you telling them the truth is harsh, and they take you as harsh, and they take it as unloving.
I'm sorry.
And it,
Hold on one.
but
You gotta see this. So Jay Single says, my female cousin's dad in Detroit was just murdered 2 weeks ago because he decided to defend his other daughter's honor.
hmm
That's real. That's real. I'm sorry. I just had to share that before we move forward. But please continue.
yeah, and that's and before you go out and do stuff like that, and there's been a couple times that that I was called on to do stuff like that. And I said, first of all, let me talk to her first.
Okay.
And then, because before I'm going to go hurt somebody or put my
Yeah.
my freedom at risk, I want to know everything.
And let me get to the bottom of it,
Let me
not
get to
just
the
go
bottom.
off of
Yeah,
what she said
see what
happened.
she says. Yeah.
You know, we're gonna welcome Dead Set Anime up here. What's up, Dead Set?
And my black
Hey, how
pill
you
brother.
doing?
How you doing?
You speaking a subject that's close to my heart.
Hmm.
And yeah, BGS has been he's brought your name up to me several times over the last year. So it's good to finally talk to you up in here. Drop something on this, man. Tell us about it.
Being a red pill father, I'm going to talk about as far as how I raised my daughter as a red pill father.
Okay.
Okay. Um, I think BGS already know this, but I spent the first 2 years of her life telling her no to everything.
Hmm.
Everything. By the time she turned 3 years old, she was so used to hearing it that she doesn't even flinch when she hears no.
Now, what does
And
that do? What is the benefit of that?
that gets her used to not getting her way.
Uh oh.
Hmm.
Uh oh.
So I was laying that foundation.
Right.
At every turn, the problem with raising a daughter like that, and both of my children were born in wedlock, and I was married at the time when I was doing all of this,
Mm,
is that her mother so vehemently objects, and she did things that actually was in contravention to what I was doing
Hmm.
okay.
because she couldn't understand what I was doing, but she did see the outcome and she saw how disciplined the child was.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but since we divorced and we're still in the middle of this battle, a lot of that discipline has gone out of the window.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
she want to undo what you've done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But really, just to spite you, but but it's interesting you brought that up in terms of saying no, because boys hear no all the time. You know,
Exactly.
we get that kind of treatment from day one. That's not even a thing. But you're right. I don't think I've really heard too much talk about that. Telling girls no as a part of their developmental process. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And another thing was her mom and I got in. What's that Beyonce song about? Girls run the world or some mess like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. We run the world. Yeah, girls. Yeah.
Yes, I remember my child. She was 4 years old, and I'd heard them in her room singing that song. And I walked in there and I took my wife aside and I said, "Look, I don't want her learning that mess. I don't want that. No, you're not going to inculcate her with that mess."
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And it turned into a big argument.
Hmm.
But I ran my house in such a way that, hey, I'm the head of this household and I make the rules. So, I mean, granted, she went behind my back and did it anyway, but
Right.
you know, being a red pill father is tough because everybody from there, well, the white female teachers were not against me.
Okay.
But every black female teacher that I ran across thought I was wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Break that down for the fathers in here or those who aspire to be fathers. What's the science with that?
I don't know what the science is. Go ahead.
Well, the thing is that we already know, right? The black females are raised in a gynocracy where the black females rule and what they say goes, and what mothers network, black women network, and they decide what's going to be done, and fathers are excluded. Whereas the white teachers, and I've seen this because I've experienced it. A white female teacher, unfortunately doesn't respect the mother. Okay. As far as, I understand, I like you, but guess what? I want to see her father or his
Yep.
father because the father is presumed head of the household in a white family,
Okay.
Yeah.
whether he is or not. Yeah.
And to that point, I remember when my daughter went into the first grade and I took her to her first day. And you know, when you're filling out the paperwork, what does she do? Her hobbies, what does she fear?
Yeah.
And I wrote down there, what she fears is her daddy's wrath. The teacher thought she fell out laughing. But
Put it in the paperwork.
I put it in the paperwork. And every single, from pre-K on the way up to the second grade when we got divorced, the teachers used to call me when she got out of line because they knew that when they said, I'm going to call your daddy, she straightened right up.
Yeah. My daughter's the same way.
You know, it's a trip. When I was a kid, I remember the parents, especially the mothers, that would come down and cuss everybody out if they had to get a phone call about their kid. And I thought as a kid I used to want that. I used to hate because my family would come in and kick my ass, but I used to love that. But when I got older, I saw those kids ended up becoming a problem when they became adults.
Yep.
That's one of the things I noticed. Let me see. I think we just lost 5100. Come back through if you get a chance. I was just about to bring you in, but anyway, I noticed there's a difference. So that accountability as a father, you're saying, definitely played a role in your daughter's progression. What do you notice with her now?
What I notice with her now is that she's spending too much time on social media. And I'm going to tell you, truth be told, like I said, I'm still in the middle of this battle, and it's a terrible one.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen her in months now, but the last time I saw her, I was tutoring her in math. And at 6 years old, she was operating with negative numbers. She knew. Wow. So this child was going to be doing algebra by the time she reached 10 years old.
Right.
So I remember when she would come in and I would check her homework and her teacher was saying some nonsense like, oh, daddy, these are math sentences and this is how you work. And I say, what in the world are you talking about, math sentences? There ain't no sentences in math. And then I look at her and say, these are equations. So I saw her face get twisted up and I knew I had to dial it back.
Okay.
And so then I said to her, look, baby, do you know what that equation means? She didn't know. And I told her what it was. But because I had given her a foundation in negative numbers, she learned at 7 years old how to balance two sides of that equation.
Right.
Her mother was furious. Furious. Because let me preface this by telling you that my ex-wife is a teacher.
Wow.
Yes. So, and she was like, she stated that it was too advanced for her. I was like, wait a minute, how is this too advanced when she can do the operations?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So, that.
Well, and I think what you're talking about is I think in the public eye is best exemplified by the Williams sisters' father, right? Where if you have a father that is willing to push his daughters, has faith in them, but also has an expectation that they meet a certain level of performance, you can see what can happen. But as long as women have carte blanche power to make decision about children, I mean, you're not the first man I've talked to just in the last 3 days to say I haven't seen my daughter in months. Some of them have said I haven't seen my daughter in over a year. And these women know the impact that this has on girls, and they don't care.
Yeah, they don't.
And that's what hurts my heart, because I know what they're sacrificing, and for what?
To get even, yeah.
Yeah, it's all to get it. Hold on, we got some knuckleheads outside.
All to get even. That's ridiculous.
All to get even.
Yeah, and you know something about that yourself, sir.
Oh yes. And living testimony. I can't go into all the details, but a living
Right,
testimony. Yeah.
right.
Shoot, I'm trying to get to where you are, BGS. Man, there's been
uh,
times I've been trying to opt out, and this is like I can't. Those are my kids. I
those
just
your kids. Yeah.
yeah
What I'm saying is, opting out is, because I can't say I opted out because I didn't. I actually, sacrificed a lot of my happiness, even though me and the mother didn't get along, for my children, because I wanted to kind of mitigate the damage, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
But I think
Because that's after I decided to not completely opt out. Um, and I did mitigate the damage because I hear it all the time about my grown children. Okay, they might not be as successful as I would like, but the thing is, everybody that meets them said they're wonderful people.
yeah,
Mhm.
and
That
that's really all you can ask
well
for.
mannered, they're nice, they're polite, um, they're sociable, they're not mean, they're not rowdy, anything like that. So they're a joy to be around. So, and that's all of them. So, um, in that sense, I'm happy about that.
But you touched on something, BGS, and I think this is where a lot of dudes, and especially guys who don't have children, don't
Mhm.
really deal with, especially those of us with daughters.
Mm-hmm.
We know what it's going to be like. You know what I'm talking about. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to become teenagers and
Yes.
watch it go down the drain.
Wow.
Yeah. So it takes that's where red pill comes in and a little bit of black pill comes in.
Hmm.
Especially for my daughters, they were actually that's why sports was so important with them, because they got to be around boys early.
Right.
Right.
Not just as I like him, he's on the other side of the playground. No, they had to interact with them. Okay, they were teammates,
Right.
Right.
so they got to know them on a social level, and that kind of helped as they got older. So by the time my daughter got to be a teenager, boys weren't, they weren't a mystery.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They
Well,
weren't a mystery to her. Go ahead.
I'm going to share something with you guys. A subscriber sent to me a
Mm-hmm.
while back. Hold on, let me pull this up. And this was a story he sent to my Facebook, and I shared it with his permission. Shared it on a couple of platforms. He
Mm-hmm.
says, "Good afternoon, Doc." He said, "The information that you provide the brothers is godsend. I was a single father to a son and a daughter. Their
Mm-hmm.
mother did everything she could to turn them against me during her weekly visits because she was upset about paying child support,
Mm.
$75 biweekly, which was my way of ensuring she kept a job. The kids began to act out, run away, their grades dropped, and many other setbacks. My daughter
Mm-hmm.
expressed that her mom had changed and that she wants to live with her, even though she was sleeping on someone else's couch. One
Okay.
day, disciplined my then completely out of control children and left a mark on my son from a belt. I was charged with reckless injury to a child, 80
Mm.
hours of community service, parenting classes, VIP classes, fines. The kids were removed from my home, placed in foster care. Then they gave her custody, even though she tested positive for drugs. She also lied to the courts and said I abused her when we were together, despite police reports that I was not allowed to present that proved she was the aggressor on multiple occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to today, and he had sent me some pictures that I didn't share of his kids. She blocked me from being a father, drastically failed at raising them, now needs me to step in and fix her 5 years of failure. Your work
Mm-hmm.
is, he goes into my work. Says black fathers have been catching hell out here fighting against black women and the system they weaponize. Said I felt ashamed for the longest for getting a child abuse charge until I found your channel, and he kind of goes from there. But one of the things he shared is that his daughter had, was an A student, as was his son when they were with him. Now his daughter has a criminal record, and the
Mm-hmm.
son is basically on the way of dropping out of school. Can you two speak to, having, just like we were talking about a second ago in terms of having your parenting blocked, but the
Right.
impact you see it having on your kids, and what can a father do when he's seeing this happen and it legally doesn't have the power to do anything? What do you suggest?
He basically um if if you love your children, try to mitigate the damage. I mean, no matter where they're at. Okay, yeah, she screwed them up for 5 years. Okay, then you have to say, how much do you actually love your kids? And if you love them enough, then you got to sit down with them and say you try to mitigate the damage. But if they don't want to do it, then guess what? They're grown. You can't. They're actually grown people, and they have to get on your. You have to get on your program.
Okay.
And sometimes they do it early, and sometimes they do it when they're 30.
Mm. Mm.
So there's not much you can do. But, unfortunately, in this environment where you have little to no say, short of going to the mother's house and kidnapping your children, you have no say. So
That's
there's not much
precisely
you do.
that's precisely how I lost my daughter. She came here and she kidnapped her.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, she kidnapped her, and I had a nanny at the time, and she gave chase, and yeah. But I mean, to BGS's point, I mean, I can talk about the legal issues.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing is, because I'm a large proponent of lawyers,
Okay.
but in my case, I had two lawyers get in the way. So when I filed a contempt, I had four. I had four arguments that needed to be argued in court, and this was just last December.
Mm-hmm.
The lawyer decided on the spot that he was only going to argue one of them, and because of that, we lost the contempt hearing. So after contempt comes the exception hearing to the recommendations of the magistrate. I fired the lawyer and said,
Okay.
I was like, look, I know what all the arguments are. I gave this man all of the evidence.
Right.
So I'm going at it pro se and using lawyers, this thing called lawyers unbundled, where you can hire them as consultants.
Okay.
And so, in fact, it's a brother who's consulted me named Jerry Williams out here in Maryland.
Okay.
And he's a father's rights lawyer, and he's been pretty instrumental in getting me everything that I need and to get up and going.
Okay.
So, I mean, if a brother doesn't have a whole lot of money, he wants to keep fighting like I do because I appeal everything,
Mm-hmm.
then you may do better to do the research because you get certain powers as a pro se litigant that you don't have when you're represented.
Okay.
And that's something a lot of guys need to keep in mind, because here in Maryland, you get access to the law library, you get access to legal aid, a whole lot of things that I did not have access to when I was represented.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Where do things stand right as it is now? What do you see on the horizon, I should say, as far as how this is going?
Things went south because she levied child abuse charges against me. And of course, they were ruled out early on.
Okay.
And then she, over last summer, that's when I filed contempt. And then she decided she was going to curse my mother out on her front porch. And I happened to record the entire thing.
Ooh.
And so she went to court with my mother. And my mother was the supervisor of visitation. And she got banned from her house for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But since I had it all on video and we saw how she was really acting, she panicked because she thought she was going to lose the children. And then she levied new child abuse allegations on me. And so I'm in the process of fighting that right now.
Damn.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and welcome AL to the discussion. AL, can you hear us?
Hello, gentlemen. Can y'all hear?
Yeah, we
What's
can
up,
hear you.
Gail?
Hey, Dr. T, I'm gonna come back there. I'm gonna reboot my phone and come back in because Roger Report told me to fix my phone. There's a string accent on my phone.
I can barely hear you.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
having.
he's having issues with the phone. So yeah, go out and come back in.
Don't start BGS.
Yeah, I can't hear you though, because I definitely want to hear you. Yeah, so hopefully he'll come back in. But these are the stories that I hear a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
when you bring up the way these institutions are being weaponized,
Mm-hmm.
by the mothers of children, by the wives, by our mothers. In fact, this is the part of the discussion on reconciling relationships in the Black community that we're not allowed to have publicly. Right? It's considered bad taste to even bring it up. But how the hell are you going to resolve relationships if you can't? If the men especially can't talk about what they're going through. And I do think this is part of red pill fathering. What I'm getting from both of you, red pill fathering, especially of daughters, it sounds to me like it's connected to a lot of this other shit. Tell me about that. Is it, or am I just imagining this?
It is, and unfortunately, especially I wish it was in the best interest of the child, but a lot of times it's children, especially daughters, actually use as leverage. And
Yes,
unfortunately, and what most guys do. Most, I'm not saying all. The vast majority of guys are trying to raise the kid as best they can, get the best outcome for the child.
Hmm.
And, regardless of what the mother does, right? And a lot of times, the more you love your child, the more leverage the mother uses it against you.
exactly.
That's unfortunate, but that's the truth. Because women have very few weapons against you. They physically can't beat you up. They can't emotionally beat you up because you're disconnected. So the last hold they have on you are the children, and which is sometimes one of the biggest holds, especially if you want to be a good father.
Yeah, one of the aspects of being that good father, and I went through this because I wasn't as ruthless as I needed to be because I knew that if I hurt my wife, I would hurt my children,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the leverage that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right now, I'm as ruthless as you can get.
Hmm.
You can bury this chick. I could care less.
Hmm.
The children will get over it.
He said they'll get over it.
Yeah. And that's an issue. And then you try to you try to balance that. Okay, your sometimes your dislike of the mother of your children, and for what's gone down, balancing that with how's it going to affect your children,
Right.
and they know that.
Let's see if AL's connection is any better. AL, can you hear us?
Can you gentlemen hear me now?
Yeah, we got you good, loud and clear.
Okay. Good evening, Master Educator. You know I love you. I'm here for insight, knowledge. I'm here to support Dr. T on this subject because it's near and dear to me. I'm going through all these aches and pains right now. BGS has already been through this, so it's like water under the bridge to him. Right now, I'm sitting up here. I'm like, gray hairs are coming everywhere, brother, everywhere. They hit
I
my
believe it.
mustache, my soul patch, my chin, my hair. I'm like, I just got off the phone with this little girl, man. I'm like, what do you want to do? What's going on? I don't know, Daddy. I don't know. I'm like, you got to be a senior this year. Well, what about the job you get? It's already lined up. You go get your ID tomorrow. You do X, Y, and Z. Well, let me go talk. Okay, well, your mom's gonna tell you the same thing I just told you. Pay attention. Now this lady finna go to work for. My best friend, she's not gonna play with you. So you got to check that attitude at the door. You going to work. This is gonna be your first dose of what life is gonna be in store. You got to be ready to handle a whole lot of people who's got worse attitudes than you. So if you think your little attitude is gonna overcome the world's attitude, it's not gonna happen. And I'm trying to teach her these things, but it's like BGS. I swear it's going in one ear and out the other. And I'm thinking back like I wasn't like this because SL would put foot to ass and fist to jaw, and he wasn't playing. So I knew, but it's like I can't do that with her. And I'm like, it's taxing, man. It's taxing.
Girls, you have to discipline a different way, and you need more control of their environment. Okay. Whereas boys learn pretty quickly. You put a hand on them, right? I mean, not physically beat them, but they learn pretty quickly, right? Girls, you got to do it a different way. And if you don't have control over their environment, it's very difficult to actually discipline a girl.
Exactly.
It really
is. And the crazy thing about it is, all these years, the scorched earth in between her and my mom, her mom and me, is to the point now her mom was like, I need you to just take over. I'm like, take over? When I was trying to do all this, like y'all were talking about earlier, I'm trying to be the good dad and be here, be there. I got to fight you, my egg donor, because you two are thick as thieves and y'all plotting against me. Then if I come to try to be with her and be near her, I got to fight y'all threatening to get me incarcerated, stuff like that. I'm like, who wants to put up with that? But then when You lose the control of it. You need me. What? You better come get your daughter. Her mouth.
Yeah.
What do you mean her mouth? Hold on, y'all created this mouth.
Yeah. You know what? You know, the thing is that, you know, with my 3 kids, right, and the stuff I had to go through, right. My ex is, you know, she's almost 60. She's just now coming to grips with the choices that she's made with my children.
Yeah.
She's just now coming to grips with that.
But
We had a long 2-hour talk, right? And she's just now realizing all the stuff that I was trying to do and the stuff that she disagreed with. Okay. She's just
well, see, I'm getting those talks now too. I'm getting I'm like, no, now you want it, now it's sinking in, dumb Betty. I'm like, come on now.
Yeah.
But you can't nobody tell you nothing when you was walking in you can't tell me nothing. It's all about me. Who go check me boo life?
But one thing about and maybe Dead Set can speak on this, right? At a certain point, okay. Even when a child, and Dead Set probably does the same thing because I can tell, right? Even at a certain point when the child, as soon as the child speaks, you start giving the child choices, okay, good and bad consequences, right? You know, in other words, in other words, when you give like Dead Set saying no or Dead Set talking to the child, right? You're not hitting the child, you're not physically beating the child because a no can come vocally, or a no can come with a sharp swat on the ass, right? Okay. And the thing is, what you're trying to do is have a dialogue with your child, right? Or start a dialogue with your child. So in other words, if first thing, if my child does something wrong when they were small, did something wrong, I don't care if they're 4. First thing I did was talk to them.
Yeah, they got to understand the punishment. Why they're being punished.
Why they're being punished. Even before they're being punished. Why, you know, let's get to the bottom. Why did you do this?
Yeah. That's one thing that I could not stand, and I hated it. Like, well, I'm gonna get you later. I was like, she's not gonna know later, so why are you even gonna address it later? You gotta address it now.
Address it now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Dad said maybe you could help me. All right, this is the kind of child I have. She's not a bad child. She's not a mischievous
child. How old is she?
She just made 17, June the 5th.
She's an adult. She's an adult. Yeah. She's not a child.
Don't I know now? Okay, but
she's
this is the thing. She's not rebellious. She's not rambunctious.
Okay.
What she is like you said earlier, she's got a mind of her own, and she's thinking and she's speaking her mind, and the words she uses, they're sharp, they're short, and you know she's a teenager, so it's like if she's speaking off the cuff, but she's not really thinking, all right, the words I'm saying have ramifications.
No. Oh, she's an adult. In other words, even when they were little, right? Okay, they had one shot, right? They speak to me out of turn and speak with disrespect first and say, who am I?
Damn. Hey, you gotta take this out of the
and mute. Oh,
yeah. The first thing I would say, I always reminded my kids that from small, there's a certain way you talk to me. Okay. Period. Otherwise, there's no discussion.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's no discussion. If my kids are in their mid-30s, they do not talk to me that way, right? Okay. They don't talk to me that way. They still talk to me with respect because well, number one, I'm going to respect them. You know, even when they're small, I respected them. I didn't talk to them any kind of way. I didn't curse at them. I didn't talk brusque to them or anything like that, right? I respected them. But the thing is, on the other hand, I demand respect. Otherwise, there's no conversation. And even when my daughter's in their 20s, right? Blah blah blah. They get slick at the mouth and snarky. Wait a minute. Whoa. Who am I? Well, your daddy. Since when do you talk to your daddy like that?
Yeah.
In other words, it's not allowed. If we're going to have a conversation, I'm your father, then you speak to me like your father. If I'm not your father, then we don't have a conversation.
Let me ask y'all a question. I'm going to shift gears a little bit.
Go ahead.
In terms of the space, in terms of the manosphere, the Black manosphere most particularly, what are you guys noticing about red pill fathers, for better or for worse? Not necessarily what they should do, but what do you notice about what they are doing, what you hear about? Where would you say fathering is in the red pill community as far as that?
I think, Dead Set can speak on this, but I think what's happening is that there's a lot of fathers actually relearning how to parent because the way they've been taught is probably wrong.
Okay.
And what they're learning is to be far more pragmatic about outcomes and what they want out of the kids, rather than this idea that kids are this precious little bundle that need to be nurtured, and they need to be nurtured and cared for. They need to be treated special. No, these are human beings, and they have they have outcomes to do. It's my job to get them from A to B, and that's what the red pill teaches you. What is reality? Okay, this I can't allow this kid to go this direction and do these kind of things because this is going to be the outcome on the other side. I can't allow my daughter to consume a whole bunch of social media and look at certain sites because it's going to get into her head, and she's gonna be the thought that we complain about 10 years later.
Mm.
So I think as far as red pill parents, they're far more aware of the influences on their kids, not only the society, but also their parenting and also their mother's parenting. So I see a lot more red pill fathers actually checking their mothers. Hey, she can't wear that dress. She can't go out in those tight clothes. She can't, I don't care. She can't talk to boys at 10 o'clock at night, and she's 10 years old. It's not allowed. Okay. In other words, I think a lot of fathers are good, actually stepping in and actually instead of going along to get along because they want to keep that woman. No, at the end of the day, this is my kid. I'm responsible with this kid, and I have a certain kind of parenting style I have to use to get the outcomes that I want this kid to be as an adult. Because at the end of the day, that's what parents are about, to get the best outcome from your child when they get grown.
Right.
That's the bottom line as far as red pill parenting. But Dad said you can speak on it if you want to.
Yeah, for me, being ex-military, childhood is training, training is boot camp, and boot camp is fun.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
Okay.
And for like when my children were with me, yeah, they called me king. They say, "Daddy, you're the king." And I say, "Well, your mama is what? Your mommy's the queen." And when we got divorced, I said, "I don't have a queen anymore."
Okay.
They understood that.
Okay.
And when it comes to the choices that they make, I think a lot of the fathers who are just coming into red pill space don't understand that morality and choices are linked, and that you can reinforce morality by simply removing choices. It's really not hard.
Okay. Give us an example. What do you mean?
Okay, let's say my daughter has, or my son, for that example, he may have a choice to go be with his friends, or to play some games, or a choice to do a lot of things.
Okay.
What he's going to eat, it could be anything. I will wheedle down those choices to something bite-sized. Okay, you got 2 or 3 things that you can do. And those 2 or 3 things that he can do, I'm approving of them. Plain and simple. You're not going to have unlimited choices in my house. So that's just how it goes. And I measured morality that way because my ex got mad because my daughter was at the age where she was getting moral stories from the Bible. She was reading my book of Bible stories.
Okay.
And my daughter was like, "Well, Daddy, let's read this. Let's read that." I was like, "Wait a minute. When's the last time," we were separated at this point, "when's the last time you read your Bible stories?" And I knew her mother wasn't, making her read that stuff.
Okay.
So I took those choices away. You're going to do your Bible stories, and then you're going to do your math, and then we can do something else.
Okay. And that's basically order.
Yeah, that's order.
Yes, order. Yeah.
Absolutely. AL, you want to add to this in any way? You still with us?
You're breaking up, Al.
Yeah.
It sounded like Mr. Z.
You got a bad connection, man. We can't hear you.
You sound like Pookie Truth right
Pookie
now.
Truth. That's what I was thinking about.
Goodness. Well, the link is in the chat if anyone else wants to come up. It's not going to be an extended session, but I wanted to, like I said earlier, this is basically a happy Father's Day to the brothers in the space by, having a conversation, giving us some insight on what exactly it means to be a father, particularly of daughters, in the red pill community. So we have, is it Gardis? Is that how I say your name?
Yeah, yes, sir. How you gentlemen doing?
Hey, what's up?
Good. We got Gardis and we got KP. Starting with Gardis, what do you have to add to this?
Okay, so just for context, I'm a married person. I have a son and a daughter.
Congratulations.
Son is 26 years old.
Oh, okay.
Doing his thing. I think I did a good job with him. So he's got his own job, got his own place, taking care of himself. And I wasn't the type of person that was like, because he had just moved out last year. But I wasn't the type of person, well, when you get 22, you got to get out of here. No, I understand when my son is ready, he's going to be ready, and he's ready. And I was very proud of him. And I have a 14-year-old daughter. I have a teenager.
Big gap. There's a big gap.
Yes, it is. So it's a big gap. But I was listening to the conversation, and shout out to Dr. T. I listen to you a lot. I know I don't participate, but I listen to you a lot in regards to the conversations of of Black malehood. But with my daughter, I find a little different parenting when you talk about boys and girls, and and also maneuvering through the space of what my daughter is being exposed to, and some of the issues that I have to deal with as a Black man, and also have to tell her about the world that I'm trying to prepare her for. I know earlier you were talking about how you had to tell your daughter not to hit anybody. Right. I remember when my daughter was little, she was hitting on boys, and I had to tell her, I was like, listen, don't ever hit anybody unless it was in self-defense.
Right.
Okay.
She's always understood that that's the one thing you do is that once you hit somebody, you open to get hit. But we had this conversation. It's interesting. We had this conversation a couple of days ago, and I was telling her, I'll always be her father.
Yeah.
But the one thing I always told her is like, now when you get married and you have that husband, once that happens, you have to run things by him first before you go to me.
Okay.
And so she was like, why is that? I was like, well, because that's your husband. And once you get married to your husband, then you have to answer to him, because at that point, he's the number one man in your life. And, I had to explain that to her. And then, she came back, was like, okay, I get it. So, and I don't think a lot of girls are getting, that type of
direction.
Yeah, direction, right. Because it's like, I asked her, is your friends getting taught that? Because I think she said she talked to one of her friends about that. She was like, I didn't know anything about that, but that's the natural order, and so she kind of understands that as well. So
you're preparing her at a young age to relate to men in a functional manner.
I am trying. definitely trying. And that's the thing about it. Just trying to maneuver through the space of everywhere she goes, when she watches TV, when she sees the other boys in her classroom, and how they they get emasculated, have to try to tell her and understand what how these images of Black men are being portrayed, but then also to show her that in some instances Black women are getting like that too, but how she should look at this and how she should relate to Black men or Black boys at her level, right? How she should relate. And people kind of like wonder to me, because she's a pretty girl, and it's like, oh, I know you got the shotgun ready. I'm like, no, actually her boy, her male friends, I'm very friendly with them. I greet myself. I say, hey, how you doing? My name is Mr. Watts, what's your name? And they treat me with respect, they say, hey, Mr. Watts, how you doing? Is such and such at home? I'm like, okay, here you go. So it's like, I don't scare the boys away. I actually greet myself and introduce myself to let them know, it's a safe space with me, but understand that that's still my daughter.
Now we got a couple of more additions. It looks like we got a rush of some brothers that came through, which I'm glad to see. We're going to start with KP, and then we're going to go to Sir Paul. KP, join in on this. Tell us what your thoughts are about being a red pill father raising daughters.
Can you hear me clear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Speak up just a tad.
All right, I'm gonna speak up. Can you hear me real good now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to give these two examples because I watched it. I'm about 38 years old. So next year I'll be 39. But I watched this happen to my brother and my father-in-law. The custody thing. So my father-in-law was going through a divorce, and at the time he was trying to get the you get the weekend visits or whatnot. Well, what started to happen is that he wasn't getting his weekend visits. So he goes to the courts and they basically ask him, does he want to upset the daughter by having her come over when she doesn't want to? And does he just want to let it go?
Hmm.
So that caused a chain of events, because the chain of events that it caused is that the daughter started to pick guys on the opposite end of the spectrum. See, the daddy is functional, former military, disciplined the whole nine. The daughter picks the opposite, and she picks the opposite till this day. So it continues to go on and is perpetuated till this day. So then it becomes exactly what we see in the community, where it's basically three children, two fathers, one dead, one in jail.
Wow.
That's just exactly how it happened. And that's exactly what I see from that family dynamic and what occurred.
Okay.
And then with my brother, it happened as well, where he was basically paying child support, but the kid was living with him.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. And he just ate it all the way until she went to college.
Yeah.
But yet and still, when Father's Day comes up like this weekend, I'm going to see this vitriol towards these two men. I guarantee you.
Right.
I guarantee you. I see it every year. And it's unfathomable, but the seeds was planted by the moms.
Okay.
And they continue to run it over and over, year after year.
Okay. Appreciate that. Sir Paul. Now, see, Sir Paul is making me hungry. That's the problem. Got this grill out. You know,
Yeah,
I'm assume he know what he doing with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm over here getting the Father's Day meal ready to go. I'm going to be going out to my fiance's house with the parents, so I'm getting a jump on it. Yeah, so absolutely. But thank you guys for having me on. I just want to add to it because I was talking. It's funny you said that. I'm a father, and I have a 15-year-old, excuse me, and I also have an 18-year-old daughter. One of which I was kind of forced out of her life. Paid child support for her. I had her when I was in college and I was playing ball, and at that time a little ignorant to knowing how to pick and just kind of going along with the flow. And so anyway, needless to say, I paid for her financially, but was pushed out of her life, and I still pay until this day. With my current daughter that I have with me, my youngest, that's from marriage, and with her mom, divorced, but I ended up getting custody of her. And with that, it was just, it's been a grind, man. I've been, just teaching her, basically let her see how I am as a father. And she was here to see everything from with her older sister into currently now. And I'll say, yeah, definitely being a red pill father is a huge challenge, but it's a challenge nonetheless that I had to just take on. It goes as far back as, man, I was working at least 3 jobs and, paying for child support while my youngest was living with me. And then I had to kind of fight that by just going through the process. And like brother was saying earlier, educating myself. I think the toughest part is going in there, facing those courts, man, because as soon as you walk in there, they're already looking at it's adversarial as soon as you walk in the building. And so, but what I always did was this here. I'm a man of structure to the fullest. And I've been training my youngest daughter for track and field since she was 3. So went through went through basically a divorce, definitely just kept showing her. And like the brother was saying earlier, I was very hands-on with talking, and you definitely have to control their environment if you want to try to structure them to be a positive contributor to society. And that was the main thing that I kind of really vocalized with my 15-year-old is, that the things I'm trying to do, I never shielded things from her, always, age appropriately, let her know what was going on. And we speed forward now. She doesn't really have a relationship with her mother. And I still try to advocate, for her to, still understand what's going on, because one day as a young adult, as a young lady, she'll have those questions. And if she do have those, she'll know how to articulate it. So for me, man, that's for the most part about it, this really hit my heart, because hearing how I hear so many different brothers out there go through things, and for a long time I thought I was by myself. And I mean, I fought the process of, while being divorced, ended up being homeless because I had to leave the house and I had to figure it out. But I can say that, man, now that I've rebuilt it, I'm engaged to get married in July, and my daughter's with me. And so just going through that process, man, I can definitely say it. You don't know you a man until you deal with something to that magnitude, where you can't deal with everything with force, which is what we're used to doing. But you have to be very meticulous. You have to be smart about it. And then with daughters, I think, because I've been coaching for years with youth athletes, and so dealing with boys, I noticed that, man, I had to deal with it totally different than dealing with my daughter. But at the same time, sitting her down, explaining to her the rights and wrongs, what she needs to go about doing things, and why her father does it, so that she understands what type of man of character to pick. And that's what I want to teach her. So just wanted to chime in on that, man. That's pretty much where I'm at.
Okay. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. I want to give everybody an opportunity to contribute to this before we, kind of dive into anything else. But let's see. We had V Ben Israel. V, can you hear us? Oh. V Ben Israel. Is he there?
Okay, he's muted.
All right.
He's muted, yeah.
Let me see. Trying to unmute. Can you hear us, V?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Shalom, brothers. I hope y'all doing well tonight.
Yeah, we're doing well. Go ahead and chime in on this.
Yeah, I'm a 45-year-old man, and I was married to a woman for 20 years. I have 4 children, 2 daughters, 2 sons.
Okay.
My oldest is 22, 21, 14, and 13. And I just want to share a little bit of my story. 2008, my wife at the time tried to kill me. I put her out the house because she was cheating on me, and we were sharing the kids every other weekend. So it was one of her weekends to have the children. And she came back to the house to pick up my son. He let her in, of course. I was asleep, and she hit me over the head with a glass bottle, and the blood was gushing down my head. Luckily, I got a phone call out where somebody was able to call the ambulance before I passed out. I stayed in the relationship as long as I did because I wanted to give my children what I didn't have. I didn't have the father, so I wanted my children to have a father and a mother. Unfortunately, they didn't have the mother, but they had a strong father. That was my mistake. It was a noble reason, but I think I should have ripped the Band-Aid off a lot sooner. I went to the court system. The courts awarded me the children. She was in jail at the time. They made a deal with me. They said, "Do you really want to see your pregnant wife in jail?" Of course not. I said, "I just wanted to get some help." They said, "Okay, we're going to send her to counseling, and we're going to send you and the kids to counseling. And if she doesn't complete the counseling, we'll come back and prosecute it." In turn, DSS sent me to a class for perpetrators, and they sent her to a class for victims.
Oh, wow.
DSS.
At the end of the class, they wanted me to write an apology letter to her.
Wow.
I refused to do it. And the director of the program said, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Because I'm the victim." She says, "Well, you're not supposed to be here." She tried to send it back to the courts. They had already dismissed the case. I had the kids, still had the kids, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I had a stroke at 40 years old. When I turned 40, I had a stroke. And about 6 months after that, my kidneys started to fail. I let her come back. I had all 4 of my kids. I let her come back to deal with the kids and tried to be very amicable with her. And what she did is she started using the children as a proxy against me. So much so that for the last 3 years, I haven't even spoken to my 2 oldest children because she weaponized them against me in order to hurt me. Even though I was dying. I'm on dialysis now, and I'm much better now. But at the time, if I went on dialysis, I would have been dead in 6 months. I had a catheter hanging out of my chest, and she was still weaponizing the kids against me. What I recommend to men, and this is why I really called in, is to protect yourself at all times. And I speak about this on my channel. Video cameras are too cheap today. You can get video cameras for $25. Put them in your house, record everything.
Right.
Also, take notes, because when you go to domestic violence court, what the judge wants to hear is this happened on this date and at this time. You want to be able to run it down. Boom, 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 boom. Because domestic court is very fast. Very fast. And make sure you keep notes. Keep a little journal. Do a notepad on your phone. Protect yourself. So that way, if you ever have to go to court, you have a recording or a record of what you've been going through. Because you can't count on the police. Because they're not going to take your side. The DSS is not going to take your side. You got to protect yourself. Even though I was the victim, I never touched her. They treated me like I did something to her. I had 7 staples in my head. I woke up in the hospital. They were pulling glass out of my skull. And they treated her like she was the victim.
Wow.
That's just one story. I got 20 years worth of stories. Believe me, I'm not going to get into them.
Well, we got a list of brothers still coming in, but let me ask you this real quick though.
Yeah.
Your relationship with your youngest daughter, where would you say that is, and how are you raising her?
It's difficult because she now has the custody of my 2 youngest children because of my my medical condition. I couldn't do it. I was forced into retirement. Again, I'm on dialysis 3 days a week with kidney end-stage renal failure.
Wow.
So I had to give the kids back to her. It's a challenge with my youngest daughter because she almost goes into a shell to protect herself. That's what I've noticed with her. My youngest son he's my rock. He stays with me. He stays, in touch with me no matter what. So I see him the most and I talk to him the most. Now, my oldest daughter, believe it or not, just this past weekend, was my first time seeing her in 3 years. She'll be 21 next month. And I believe she's starting to realize now that she's had a little life experience, the things that Dad was telling me was the truth. I never lied to him. Good, bad, otherwise. I always told her the truth. And sometimes as a child, they can't see that. And they always want to, hey, this is my mom. My mom is going to tell me the truth. But Dad tells me the truth too. So they have that conflict. But what I believe, is starting to realize, Dad told me the truth. So when I saw her, she gave me a hug. Again, I hadn't seen her in 3 years. She gave me a hug and she told me she loved me. I hadn't spoken one word to her in 3 years.
Wow. Okay. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for sharing that. Like I said, I'm hoping brothers can learn from each other's stories. We got Naldo, Chef Mike, and then Truth.
Can I say one more thing?
Make it quick though.
Yeah, the brother that spoke right before me, he said something that I felt as well, that I felt like I was alone. And I'm so glad and I appreciate you, BG, and many others now in this space that we're sharing this information and we can all communicate and share notes. Because, boy, if I would have had this 10 years ago, it would have made such a huge difference.
For real. And this is why we want to make sure our sons have it so they don't have to go through 40 years of trying to figure this out.
Right.
Oh, most definitely.
BGS, were you going to add something?
No. I was saying that's correct. That's the whole thing. I think that's the biggest thing because you feel isolated because women have a network and men don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And
there were no resources here in Charlotte. I'm in Charlotte. There was no resources for men. None. I went to all of the domestic violence facilities. I made the call, legal aid, you name it. I reached out to everybody. Yeah. And I don't drive anymore, so I'm walking miles to get to court and begging for help.
Yeah.
Even though all the police reports was on my side and I had all of the evidence and documentation, even the judge one time just said to me, like, he wrote more evidence on the paperwork from the court. I'm like, I done gave you the bank statements, the police records. Yeah. What more do you need?
In other words, they're always going to lean toward the mothers. Yeah. But Yeah, we
But
got a full with things. We have a full panel. So
yeah, go ahead with it.
yeah.
Okay, so let's get
Thank you. I
Naldo.
appreciate y'all.
Oh no, appreciate you.
And anybody that if you really feel like you've said your piece, there's still two other people that can't come in, so it's up to you. But
Well, I've only got one more thing to say, and then I can drop down, because it was to what some of the brothers were saying, especially when it comes to daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, a girl's, when they're young, their first imprint is their father.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the guys that I spoke to just didn't connect with them because they think about imprint and then they're thinking about something sexual. No.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
No, that imprint that you make on your daughters, and you can see it like in the pictures I see of my daughter when she was 5 years old, and the way she's looking at me, and she just can't stop because she thinks I'm just the most amazing thing on the planet.
Right.
That's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And I think young men or just new fathers need to learn how to nurture that, because that's what's going to be lasting if you can keep it.
Yeah. Agreed. Naldo, go ahead and chime in on this. Where are you at with it?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
And shout out to Dead Set. I appreciate you coming up, man. I've been hearing about you for a while, so it's good to talk with you. Naldo, yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add. I mean, my situation is kind of rare, I guess. The courts actually kind of favored me, even though I had some pretty extreme circumstances. I was falsely accused of domestic violence, and was forced to move out of the home that I was renting for her to live in, and we went to court, and she tried to get a ton of money in alimony and child support, as well as the restraining order. So I didn't see my daughter for almost a year. But luckily, the judge, I mean, I live in the South, so I don't know if that has something to do with it, but the judge basically said in civil court that, if she didn't want me around, or she claimed she didn't need me around, then he wasn't going to grant any child support or alimony during the time when she said that I needed to be away. I mean, obviously, plus and minus, I couldn't see my daughter during that whole time. But the one thing that worked for me, which is strange, is that I had a female divorce lawyer. And when I spoke to my criminal lawyer who helped me beat the case for the domestic, he said that in divorce court, that was the best thing that I could have done, because in the court system, even though I was a man trying to fight for my daughter, having my lawyer be a woman and her lawyer being a guy, that actually got my lawyer more leeway in arguing in court, because it was more or less that gender dynamic, I guess you could say. So like, I mean, long story short, I went through a lot. The only thing that really kind of helped me out is, I have a well-off family, so I was able to afford the lawyers and all those things. And, my divorce took me a year and a half. It cost me almost $25,000, most of which I got from my parents, from like an inheritance and that sort of thing. And speaking with a lot of brothers, I understand they're not necessarily that lucky. I went through some support groups, and a lot of guys had to take, no contest pleas in domestic courts. And for a lot of people that don't know, when you take a no contest plea, that's almost like a guilty plea as far as like jobs and other places are concerned, because it's, I think the Latin term is nolo contendere, I think, or something. So they look at that as, okay, the court's not going to convict you of the crime, but you're not technically beating the case either, right? So like a lot of guys take the case, they take the convictions, they take the plea deals and that sort of thing. And being a lot of people don't realize until after the fact, but you get convicted of domestic violence, it cuts you off from like a ton of resources and a ton of things.
Yeah.
Jobs won't hire you. You can't get public assistance. You can't own a firearm ever, no matter what happens. You can't ever do anything. So, a lot of things change. But and one thing I went through, this last point, one thing I went through with my daughter was because of the false accusation that her mother made. Once I got everything worked out with my divorce and child support and everything, I had severe trust issues with my own daughter, right? Because once I started getting non-supervised visitations with her, after the 6 months, I didn't know what things happened, between her and her mother and that sort of thing. during the time when I wasn't around. So, you know, I was very paranoid, right? I audio recorded a lot of our interactions between me and my own kid, right? Because I wasn't sure, you know, if, you know, the last time I had seen her, right? I got a knock on the door, and then, you know, the police locked me up, and then I was in jail for a night, and then I didn't see her for almost a year. So like I was real paranoid, and I had severe trust issues because I thought that there was a possibility that her mother would make her say things against me to throw me in more issues, right? So that's the red pill space didn't really exist back then. This was like, you know, early 2000s, like maybe 2014, 15 maybe, or at least I didn't discover it yet. But it's definitely a strange situation, right? Because not a lot of guys are as fortunate as I was or had the resources that I did to fight the case and to, you know, come out on the other end. And the only thing that saved me was the fact that, you know, I worked from home for 5 or 6 years, and that was while my daughter was born. So I actually raised her at home by myself, right? While my wife worked out of the house, I worked in the house. So when we went before the judge, when she was trying to make the case that I should only get 1 weekend a month because my daughter didn't know her because of me being away for 6 months, you know, I was able to make the case that, you know, I was there for a much longer time. So that helped a lot, right? And I just want to say, you know, that's one of those things. So just an FYI.
Okay, appreciate that. Let's go Chef Mike, and then Truth as I Know It. Chef Mike, go ahead and drop something on this.
Hey, good evening. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Hey, I just want to chime in. I believe the gentleman's name was Gardis. He mentioned the age gap between children. I've been married to my wife for 24 years. I'm 47 years old. I've been married to my wife for 24 years, and we have 4 children. Okay, 23, 21, 6, and 4. My 2 older children are both boys, and my 2 younger children are both girls. The dynamic that I have had to actually learn, I really had to learn control. I really have. It's so different because with boys, you're going to grow up to be men. You're going to have to die for somebody at some point. You're going to find that girl, she's going to smile at you, and you're going to stand before the judge, the preacher, whoever, and say, yes, I do, and I will die for her. Make no mistakes about it. So I had to toughen them up and, you know, make them understand that from a very early age. I was raised by my grandparents. So I had my grandfather and my grandmother there. I have a very old way of thinking. I was red pill before I knew what red pill was. So raising my boys, I wasn't strict, but I was a father. No, you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. I will knock you out, plain and simple. And if I kill you, I'm young enough to make a new one. Don't play with me. And I never really had those problems. And now my sons are grown, they're adults, and I have had folks who are much older than me who have children my same age, and they have children my children's age, and they've asked me, what did you do? I have to figure out what you did because you did something right. And now with my daughters, I have to exercise so much more control. I can't just yell at them. I can't just go off on them because they will see that as normal. And then they will grow up and they will fall in love with the bear. And I'm gonna want to kill the bear, but it's my fault that they fell in love with the bear. So it's just that control that it's such a different dynamic, and fathers that do experience that, you understand what I mean. You can't raise your sons the same way you raise your daughters. It's totally different. I want my daughters to know, no, I'm daddy's little girl. If anybody's gonna protect me, dad will. Because I've seen him be hard with somebody else, but I've seen him be soft and nurturing with me. It's something that I heard Dick Gregory say a while ago. He said, your daughters will make you like a turtle. Hard on the outside, soft on the inside, but willing to stick your neck out. I just wanted to chime in with that.
Go ahead, BGS. Did you want to say something on that?
No. What I'm saying is that there's a different approach. Okay, there is a different approach. The thing is that you got to understand that they're still human beings. Do you want to raise them to be effective human beings? At some point, you're going to have to figure out how to discipline your daughters. Okay,
Oh,
it can't be
I
100%
use
protection.
my voice.
Huh?
Oh yeah, I use my voice. I talk to them, and I'm very direct with them. That's one thing that I can say that I've maintained across raising all of my children. I'm very direct communicator. I was Army and Navy, so no wiggle room. Say go left, go left. I said turn the TV off, turn the TV off, and all of my children understand that. Even my 4-year-old understands that at a very early age. There are consequences when I don't listen to this voice. And I recognize,
because I found out even with my boys, people think that I'm harsh that I spank my children. I could tell you, especially with my boys, especially with my son, I can count the number of times on one hand that I spanked him. Because talking to him makes spanking and that kind of discipline unnecessary for the most part.
Well, I did when he was younger, until I felt it set in, and then after that I didn't have to. I could just look at him. We could have a conversation, and he got it. But I haven't had daughters, so I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it works pretty much the same way, basically. I don't have to threaten to hit you, okay? My thing was punishment, right? Is that okay? Well, I put you on punishment. You're gonna be on punishment for a month, and you're gonna have to do this every day. Because by the time you finish the punishment, it's like most of my kids says, "Why don't you just spank me, Dad, and get it over with?"
Nope, that's too easy.
Why don't you just spank me? Yeah, it's too easy. Spanking is too easy.
You won't learn the lesson.
Right. I appreciate that, Chef Mike. And that
Thank
salmon
you.
ain't helping, man. You making it real hard right now, looking at that salmon. But
hey, but that's actually what I cooked tonight for a demonstration. That's actually the recipe I cooked for tonight.
Come on, man. Why are you doing that to people? Let me go ahead and let's get Wrench Turner in this piece. Wrench Turner, and then we'll do Ian, and then we'll close out with AL. So Wrench Turner,
hey, Dr. Johnson, I don't know if you called my name earlier, but I'm back. Though I left and came back. Let me know when I can go.
I didn't see you. My bad. So I'm sorry. I did say Truth as I know it first, and then Wrench Turner. Go ahead, Truth.
Okay, thank you. This is a great live stream. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. BGS, been giving some great information tonight. I really appreciate how this live stream's going. And for me, I got a 3-year-old daughter, and I look at this, and this is my first child. I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm kind of winging it. But for me, I look at it like preventative medicine is the best medicine. And, and so for what that means to me is I got to make sure that the mother of my child is straight. Now that's easy to do now because, I got married and had the kid, and I was kind of old when I got married. So I was able to make wise decisions in that way. And it's hard because, I look around, I go to this Black men's Facebook group, the Black Fathers Face group book, and it's nothing but, it's like a Vietnam memorial where everybody just comes and tells their war stories. It's really insane, just like in this live stream tonight. And so a lot of Black men, are not practicing preventative medicine because, you find a woman, you think she's beautiful, you think it's going to work. You go, hey, maybe we got a oops baby, or maybe you plan the baby, maybe you plan to get married later, and the things kind of fall apart, and you didn't know she was who she was.
Right.
And this is what you do on your channel, BGS, and here over here, and on your channel, Dr. Johnson, is you tell brothers, man, you warn them, you say, yo, this is the reality right here. And so, I always say, as a Black man, choose the best woman that you can find for yourself. And if, I think 99% of us prefer a 8-os Black woman, but they don't make the best wives. They don't make the best partners. So you may have to find a quality wife and a quality mother for yourself somewhere else. Now, if you already have kids, You can't really go back on that. But I think that's the best. That's really the best policy given the circumstances.
Okay.
And then another thing, that I'd like to talk about on my channel, and this is really what you're doing here, Dr. Johnson, that I love, is giving Black men family planning agency and autonomy. And I was over on the Roger Report. I was doing a video, and I took some video off of his video, and so the chat box opened up, and my name was highlighted in red, in orange. And I read what was on there, and I was like, oh, damn, I remember that convo. And I said, Black men need family planning agency and autonomy because we don't take leadership within our own families. And then when the responses were, a woman responded, and she goes, hey, Truth, are you a girl? I agree with you. I think, am I a girl? And am I a girl? First of all, you know who I am. You've heard my voice before. We've talked. But it was so rare for this Black woman to actually hear a Black man say, we need to take leadership within our own family structure, like Black male family planning. Nobody talked to me about family planning as a Black man. I just made that up because I know it's something that we need to do. And for her to hear that, she figured I must have been a woman. And I go, that really makes a lot of sense to me. And so, so when I look at this, for me and my daughter, and family planning agency and autonomy, and so her family, when she has children, is going to be my family. And so what I'm going to tell her, and if anybody's got any critique on this, I'd love to hear it, or any additional information on child rearing, I'm open ears, because I don't have all the answers. I don't have many answers. But I know one thing I'm going to tell her. I'm not going to tell her so much on who to pick as a partner. I'm just going to tell her 2 or 3 different things. I know one of the things I'm going to tell her. I'm going to tell her, when you're picking out a husband, do not have children out of wedlock. Make sure you get married before you have children, because if you do, it's gonna bring shame to our family name, and our family name is honorable, and I don't want you to bring shame to our family. So I want you to get married before you have children. And I maybe might tell her 2 or more 3 things. Now, these are very big, important building blocks when it comes to family structure, and I'm hopefully I'm doing that so it resonates with her, where she goes, Dad didn't tell me a whole lot, but what he did tell me was very serious. So I'm going to heed his warning. I'm going to follow his advice on that. Now, you lay those plans, and they could all go out the window, but that's where I'm at. And I would like to just share, give other Black men confidence that you can take control of your environment, right? And we're not using that as Black men, like dominating our environment. And I don't mean that like, beating people up and screaming at people, but just really shaping our environment in a way that works for us. And because, 90% of us seem to be, including myself, sons of the gynocracy, it's like something that we don't even discuss. We're just trying to figure out the environment that we're in. But I think we need to start really taking it to that next level, and Black men building a culture for ourselves where we put ourselves at the head of our family structure. And we talk about this out in the open as a social norm, and really start to rebuild that culture for ourselves.
Okay. Appreciate that. Let's transition to Wrench Turner. Wrench Turner, you want to add to this?
Yes, sir. How you gentlemen doing?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Man, doing very well. I know we briefly spoke via Facebook. Dr. Johnson sent you some screenshots of kind of my situation and what I was kind of dealing with the kid's mom and my daughter. So the subject that we're talking about right now hits very close to home. The manosphere actually saved my life. I was on my way home, sitting in traffic, trying to figure out where I was going to delete myself in the house where there wouldn't be too much cleanup when I came into the manosphere, or when I really caught wind of the manosphere. The reason being is so I had custody of my children. Really, I would say up until they were 12 and 13. I have a daughter that's 18. Son that's 17, and a younger son that's 14. With my 2 oldest, their mother, growing up in the gynocracy, their mother was drop dead gorgeous, half Puerto Rican, half Black. I was a full-on simp. Came running with the cape blowing in the wind and trying to save an extremely damaged woman.
Right.
And we ended up having children together. And my story goes like this: in my professional life, I was extremely professional. Was really getting promoted at a really fast pace, doing all of the right things, getting increases, all of that stuff. But as far as my family life, being a single father, the mother would really, every chance she got, she would really try and turn the kids against me, or she had a no contact order. She would show up to the school and leave little notes and stuff like that to the kids, and they wouldn't do anything about it. There's absolutely no resources. I'm in Texas. There's absolutely no resources for fathers. No counseling, no. And even when I asked for it, they just kind of looked at me crazy, like, what are you even doing here? Or, hey, you need to try and reach out to your local church. That's what they would say. But fast forward to 2018, my son is 12 years old. He had been acting out. Had been hanging around some kids who made him feel guilty about so-called being a rich kid.
Okay.
And so he began to act like these kids based on those influences that he was around. The school this school was, you had every spectrum. You had really affluent kids, and then you had kids that were, Section 8 from the hood. My children being upper middle class, they had some of the nicer things. So my son had the Cam Newton cleats, the nice Rydell football helmets. And I had coached my son ever since he was 5 years old in football. So I coached my son and all of his friends. So I had about a group of maybe like 10 to 15 boys that I would pick up in my Dodge Ram. They were riding back to the truck. I would take them to the field. We'd do our practices. They would all pile up into my truck, and I would drop them off in the hood. And then we would go to a little bit more middle class condo that I had at the time. Fast forward to 2018. Now my son is completely off the rails by this time. Going back to how I was raised, I go to the belt. Now keep in mind, his mom is Puerto Rican and Black. My children are way lighter than I am. I go to the belt, leave a mark. And I'm telling this story and putting myself out there because I hope some brothers can get something from this. Go to the belt and leave a mark. These people, now keep in mind, I hadn't had a criminal record before this. I'd never been in trouble. Another part I left out too, while I was coaching, while I was being successful in my professional life, I was a bouncer at night. So I worked 20 out of 24 hours every day, slept 4 hours. But getting back to the point, disciplined my son with a belt, left a mark, and his mom used this opportunity to really take it and run with it. Went to court. She was like, oh, I was abused by him. Now keep in mind, this is completely false. What I ended up having to do was go and get police reports where she was abusive towards me. I brought him to court, and they wouldn't even let me show him. So, here we are now, pretty successful, nice home. I have a business. I still have a day job. I lead a group of about 60 people. I'm a manufacturing ops manager. I lead a group of about 60 people, and I actively grow brothers, even sisters that I have on my team. I sent you a screenshot where she says, hey, his braces need to be paid for. I sent $1,400 paid. Hey, I think he should, I think he should live with you now because he should see the way you move. And in my mind, I'm like, we spent all of these years, you've been going against the grain, trying to turn these kids against me. Now, just like the previous brother said, now you can't handle them because being their friend doesn't work, and you want me to swoop in and save the day. And it's so frustrating, man, because and she actually, here we are, our children are just about grown. She's even tried to get back with me, and I'm like, this is crazy. So I tell my story in hopes that a lot of these brothers would listen to some of the horror stories that we're telling. And I would tell you that the most important decision you can make in your entire lives, Black men, the most important, and any other brothers that are listening, the most important decision you make is the woman that you have children with. I don't care how fine she is. In hindsight being 2020, man, I would have rather get me a nice sweet fat girl or something and just and been good, versus having a 10 that is absolutely off the rails. I was lucky enough to, and I have a God-given talent that I learned how to monetize in my day job. So that's how I ended up. Had I not been a brother who was in that six-figure bracket, I can see how not having money, going through all of the stress of all of this stuff, could have easily, it would have been a recipe for disaster, and I probably wouldn't be talking to you all right now. But I know a lot of brothers see me on the other. I was a moderator for Kevin Samuels. I know they see me on a lot of other brothers' channels, but don't get it twisted. I'm here with the idea that I can probably save some of these brothers' lives, because I know a lot of them may not have the same grit, or a lot of them may think that they're in this world alone, going through things alone. So
with no support network. Yeah.
Exactly. Because that's what I felt like. Nobody to turn to. You can't call your friends. They're not going through that. They have good relationship with their kids, right? with their children's mom. So you really feel like you're on an island. That's why I say this space saved my life.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you, man. I don't know if you were listening earlier. I read some of what you sent me.
Okay.
I didn't share any pictures of the kids, but I will say this. If you see the pictures, you really can dial in on what he's talking about that much more, especially with your daughter. You talked about what was going on with your daughter right now. What's the situation with that now? Has it changed, or what's going on with it?
Yeah, so I'm letting her learn a lesson.
Okay.
Of course, I have the resources to immediately fix her situation, and I'm not a rich guy. I don't want to come off like I'm better than anybody, anything like that. But I have the resources to fix her situation. But she's going to learn a lesson, probably for another couple of weeks, and then I'll probably get her out of it, and we'll sit down and have a dinner and have a conversation. But it's a conversation that I want to have without her mom being present.
Oh, okay.
And that's always been the biggest hurdle, is getting the kids, having a dinner, and their mom, they feel bad because mom was crying when we left because we were going out to dinner, and it's manipulation across the board. But I knew that's who this woman was when I got with her, so I bear a lot of the responsibility for having children with this woman. So the accountability piece is on me. And I've worked hard to try and navigate this weird dynamic over the last couple of years. But brothers, hey, be careful about who you have kids with, because it is a lifetime decision.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I appreciate you. I missed what you shared, but I've been kind of in and out. But I appreciate all you do in the space, brother. Every chance I can, I try to support these types of spaces, because brothers definitely need to hear this and know that they're not out in this world dealing with this kind of stuff alone. So any brothers listening to this, stay strong, man. Keep listening. You'll catch a stream that'll lift your spirits up and get you to the point where you can make it another day, and another day turns into another week, and before you know it, you'll have a YouTube channel trying to help somebody else too, hopefully.
Hey, man, appreciate you coming up and dropping that. And I appreciate you sending it to me. And I'm letting brothers know y'all can send me stories. I'll keep certain things in confidence. I really just want to make sure that we're sharing information that might be of use to other brothers who are, especially before they go through it. That's the goal.
Absolutely.
Ideally. But even if they're in the midst of it, getting support, getting insight from other brothers that have already gone through it, because a lot of it we don't get, and there's a lot of different issues connected to this. It could be being a father, it could be marrying or getting with the wrong woman, it could be sexless marriage. I mean, there's a million different ways we need to be a resource to one another. And I agree with BGS. I mean, this is something women have been socialized to do, so they have this kind of network for each other. Men, we're lone cowboys. We're just kind of out there, and there's got to be a point where we actually begin to engage each other as resources, because this shit we shouldn't have to be reinventing the wheel every 30 seconds. It really shouldn't have to be like that. But I appreciate you, Wrench Turner. Thanks for coming through.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much.
All right, man. I'm gonna I'm gonna take Wrench Turner down, and V, I appreciate you coming through. I'm gonna take you down. So thanks for sharing your story, and I hope you feel better, brother, and get your health together, because we definitely need you, bro. So I'm gonna take you down, but thanks for coming through. I'm gonna give it to Ian, and then get AL's closing thoughts, because his phone went out before we could hear him, and then go from there. So BGS, did you want to say something before we transition to Ian?
No. Go ahead.
Okay, Ian, go ahead and give us your thoughts, man.
Yes, sir. What's good? What's good, fellas? How you guys doing?
Oh, good, man. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful, man. Just trying to navigate this changing mental environment that we're going through, man. It's a shift happening. You know what I'm saying? For men, I mean, anywhere I go, men are waking up, man. And it's massive. And so I'm just in awe of what's taking place, man. I mean, just across the board, anywhere you go, and you're dealing with men, they're waking up to having a greater self-respect for themselves, And I really appreciate the work you and BGS are doing. A lot of other brothers in the manosphere, but what I wanted to say, I have a daughter and son. They're both over 20. My last conversation with my daughter, though, I told her I had a bitch for a daughter, and hung up the phone and just and left it there.
Wow.
She,
Okay.
How long ago was that?
That was a year. That was maybe like a year or two.
And how old is she?
She's over 20. She's
okay, because that's if she's 5, that's a different.
Yeah.
No, because what it was, she wanted to negotiate whether or not it was a priority for her to respect me, and not that she's my daughter has ever been, or my son has ever been outright disrespectful to me. My kids, I don't know. They just knew my spirit. They just knew there's a lot of shit that I didn't play. Like I said, I barely, spank them. And I don't even know if I ever spanked them. But I do know this, that when they were over my house, or when I went over to visit, there are things that their mother dealt with that I never knew. I never realized that they were a certain way, because they just knew how to behave, and they knew what I expected. So, I was proud of my kids, before they even left elementary, in terms of their development and the things I wanted to instill in them. So, all that being said, though, coming into the red pill, black pill, my bar went through the roof with her. So we were having a conversation, and she was kind of disrespectful. Not necessarily she was calling me, or tone, getting loud, but she wasn't respecting the person that she was on the phone with. She wasn't giving me the deference that I was owed as her father, and as someone who is older and wiser. So that being said, in that conversation, she told me that she said she had to focus, when I called her out on how the conversation was going, and I didn't necessarily appreciate how the conversation was going, because I told her it took me too much to be able to correct you. She ended up taking, admitting, but then after that she says to me that, oh, well, I, with my school, and it was focusing on career and school and job, learning to respect you as a father just is not a priority. And she was just being honest. That's kind of just how, like I said, in a lot of ways, she never really probably felt that she had a lot of improvement to do, because she's never been outright disrespectful, right? But I'm like, nah, and if you're gonna deal with me, I know the difference. You know what I'm saying? So you're not gonna play pleasant with me. I know whether or not you have a deep, abiding respect for me, or you're showing it, and I'm not gonna allow that. So, she said, let me explain. I hung up, because I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't play that game. You're not going to explain anything to me. That's just off limits. You know what I'm saying? You don't negotiate whether or not I am a priority to respecting your life. So, you know, that's just kind of where I left it. I'm eventually, you know, soon I'm gonna have to repair that relationship. but I had to let her know, you know, this is not this I'm not going to be your friend. It's never going to be a time, no matter how old you get or how old I get, no matter what, there's never going to be a time where I'm going to be your friend, you know. And I think that's kind of from the standpoint of probably her friends growing up and so on and so forth. They probably got fathers that are I'm never going to be your friend, never. I'm always going to be your father, and if I'm not fulfilling that role as your father, then I don't need to be playing a role in your life, because that friend is just not not appropriate and not in order. So, you know, I'll leave that there. But I did want to tell you guys the PTR that I got here. You know, I want to let you know, Jason Tatum. So he has a tattoo of him and his father. His father, he said that his father put him through such hard training as a child, right? Because he's on the Celtics now. He's like one of the top guys in the league. He said his father put him through such grueling training, he thought about quitting basketball, right? But on the other hand, there are articles being written about him being his mother being a single mother and having to struggle. But another article and the tattoo is saying that, you know, from a young age, his father was putting him through the basketball drills. Go figure.
Okay. Well, I'll say this much as far as the story with your daughter. I hope you're able to heal that situation.
Yeah.
Because I can't speak to it as a father. I can tell you I dated that woman. I'm not talking about your daughter. But I've dated that woman that did not have a repaired relationship. And I end up in these situations where they, you know, because they haven't reconciled that, they can't, you know, I kind of get a cross treatment between being a man and being daddy. You know, y'all know what that is. But, you know, but if it's unresolved, there's just something that's going to have to be resolved with Ian before any other man can really have the kind of impact, you know, that might be necessary. Because you as Dead said earlier tonight, you're the first imprint.
Yeah.
You know I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to cut you off, BGS. What were you going to say?
No. Yeah. The thing is, it shouldn't, you know, unfortunately, it should never get to that. And normally, that's why when I detect that kind of attitude from my daughter, I shut it off really quickly. Okay, no, it never gets to that point. Like, you know, we don't even start that. Okay,
right.
We don't even start it. So, you know, so it never gets that far.
You know, I kind of, you know, but for me, I guess I kind of jumped the gun, or I kind of, you know, am trigger happy in that regard, because, you know, the relationship has been strained because of their mother. You know what I'm saying? So being able to build that rapport and have that ability. So it's just like when I get the opportunity to say it how it needs to be said and whatever, you know, I just pull the trigger. But that, you know, that's
regardless. There's certain you know, if I've been her father, I've been in her life, and she knows how to treat me. It doesn't even go that way. You know, you can say what you have to say without being disrespectful.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why I hold it, because I don't want to, you know, I'm not going to call my daughter out that kind of name, so it's not even gonna get that far.
Right.
So when me and my daughters have both had screaming matches, but at a certain point, you know, it's not allowed. Period. No, you're not going to talk to me that way.
Right.
Well, hey man, I appreciate you coming up, Ian, and I appreciate what you do in the chat. You've been consistent for the longest, so shout out to you, man. Thank you. And thanks for sharing your story, bro.
Thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, AL. Yeah, you didn't have a chance to. I think your phone might have cut out mid statement.
Can you guys hear me?
We got you.
It's really muffled, but give us your closing thoughts on this.
Yeah, I sat back and I really listened to all the stories, and you know, and they were eye opening, and you know, I I embraced all of them, you know, from a learning aspect. And Wrench Turner, he was speaking true facts. He's in Texas, I'm in Texas, and when I'm here to tell you, there is no resources for me as far as the way the corporation has it set up. In this state, it's 99.9999999% pro-woman, and it's geared to protect them from you having the ability to do what you need to do to be the father you need to be if you get in these situations where the relationship is at a dissolving level. And I've been on that end twice with the same woman. So I know the hardships that most of these guys, these war stories are being told. Like I said, as far as her indoctrination, education is concerned, yeah, I'm coming to the end of public school. But, you know, she like BGS said, he told me a while ago, she's 17 now. She's grown. As far as state of Texas, she's grown. So the way she's talking and she's moving, all I can do is just keep instructing people and give them the best advice that I can give. But she's going to have to bump that head against that wall herself. And I can't save her.
No, you can't save her. She got to save herself.
All I can do is just try to be the best dad I know how to be there for advice and whatnot, and still tell her I love her and I'm going to be there for her. But, you know, I had, like just recently, right after her prom, knocked down, drag out, dialogue and text over, you know, you too this, dad, you're too that, dad, you trying to, you know, everything I'm trying to instill in you is for the betterment of you becoming somebody's future helpmate and wife. I don't want. I actually told her mom BGS earlier. I said, I'm up here praying that she don't find a pole, she don't become a sex worker, she don't get, because right now, and you said something earlier, that social media, it's a motherfucker, man.
Yeah, I mean, it is. But
I'm trying to figure out how to fight that.
The thing is, you got at this point, she has to have an idea of a path for her own life, and your job now is to help her walk it, right? And so, but the thing is, you know, she has to make that decision. Okay, regardless of what you feel about me as a dad, regardless of what you feel about me as a person, right? My job is help you walk this path. Now, what do you want to do with your life? If you don't want to do anything with your life, you want to be a bum. I told him, and I told this to Doc, right? If I've trained you properly and you want to be a bum, I'm gonna see you once a week. I'm gonna give you $5 until you take care of yourself, because I know that is where you want to be. I have no right to tell you what to do with your life. If you want to join a cult, you want to fly to wherever, and that's where you want to be, that's what you want to do with your life. But my job is to give you the best chance to do what you really want to do. So we have to determine what it is you really want to do. You got to talk to her like an adult. She's not a child anymore. It's your life. What do you want to do with it?
And that's what I've been doing, BGS, trying to talk to her like, hey, you're not 11 anymore. You're not my Pigoletta anymore. You're Jasmine Sierra Sandy Evans. You're going to be a young lady who's going into this world that's filled with hurdles and obstacles.
So all the judgment about being a good dad, bad dad, all that stuff is out the window. Okay, what are you trying to do with your life, and how can I help you? If we can't, if that's not part of the conversation, all the other stuff is pushed aside. I don't even want to hear it. Okay, at this point, it doesn't matter. You're grown. I've got you. My job, first of all, is to help you to survive to be this age, to be an adult, right? So basically, my main job is done. You survived. Okay, you're healthy. You're not abused, anything like that. So you survived. Now you're on your own. Now, what can I help you going forward to actually be what you want to be? Other than that, I don't need to hear all this judgment stuff. Okay, the past is the past. You'll learn that when you have your own kids. I can't explain it to you. You'll learn that when you have your own kids. But right now, how do we get you from A to B? Where do you want to do? What you want to where you want to go? How do we get you there? Other than that, we don't need all that other talk, because you're grown. It's no more daddy-daughter talk. Okay, daddy-daughter can happen in little small moments. Right now, it's adult to adult. This is mentor to mentee. Well, because my job is to guide you. Okay, my job from 1 to 18 is to raise you. My
Right,
job
right.
at 18 on is to guide you only. I'm only to advise you. If you know, if you don't want to do it, Chief, guess what? Good luck.
Yeah, you develop increasing. There's an increasing distance in terms of how hands-on you are
Yeah, right.
from childhood to adulthood, and at a certain point, and that's the transition I'm going through now. I mean, my son is going to be 17 in a couple weeks, and you know what I mean. And so, the closer he's coming to that adulthood, I'm realizing how much more I got to stand back, but still be present. You know what I mean? I'm still helping. I'm still there to guide, but it's not like when he was 9. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a
right.
whole different framework. So yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
AL, I appreciate you coming up, man. Thank you.
Thank you guys. You know, I appreciate it every time. And BGS, you know, hey, I rock with you till the wheels fall off, boss. You know how it goes. You too, Dr. T. We all are part of the same like-minded tribe.
I'll get one thing said, walk in the door, don't nobody say shit. Huh?
Yeah, out of that now. They say, keep doing this good work, Dr. T, man. Hey, you are much needed and appreciated. Thank you, BGS, for bringing these scholars in here. It has really set the Black matter field into a whole nother light. Because trust me, words getting around. It's a lot of dudes paying attention to the professor. And I'm one of them. I back GG, Dr. T, Dr. Neil, all of y'all, man. I need this. Don't stop. And there's other dudes in here who feel just like I do. We need this. Do not stop. Thank you, Master Educator. I'm going to catch you on the next. Love y'all. Peace.
All right, man. Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, man, powerful. But I expected no less. I'm glad the brothers showed out and gave each other some jewels. That's really what it is. And I want to thank you for being willing to do this. Y'all got to know BGS gets calls multiple times a day to drop what he's doing and come help out on the streams, and he does it most of the time. I mean, I get to the point where I don't even want to ask because I know his schedule is booked. But on this particular subject, and we talked about this a few days ago, I said, this is a conversation I want to see happen more in the space where as fathers, we can be a resource to each other. We can talk about what's going on. And I've seen that in the past. I'm not saying it hasn't happened.
Yeah, but it's rare.
It needs to happen more.
Right. It's rare.
Yeah.
And it only happens when there's an emergency, when the guy's at his wit's end.
Exactly.
And we need to be more proactive than reactive.
But this particular subject of red pill fathers and daughters also comes up because I did a show earlier today talking about the war on Father's Day, and y'all know in African American culture, we see a lot of antipathy toward fathers, a lot of vitriol, and I'm particularly seeing this in young girls and of course grown women, but in young girls, I'm saying, well, how exactly are these brothers managing this? Because we're seeing this being passed down. We're seeing it in popular culture. They're learning how to engage men with the same level of vitriol that they're supposed to give fathers. And I'm just saying, okay, what are brothers doing in response to that? So, BGS being a father and a grandfather, this was a great opportunity to have him kind of share his thoughts. And I actually get to hear him engage his grandchildren. I'll be on the phone and I'll get to listen in and see how that goes. And so I said, this would be good for people to really think about, so I appreciate you, dropping what you're doing and jumping in, man. You didn't have to. So thank you.
All right. Anytime, Doc. You know that.
Much appreciated. But I will say to everybody listening, to the fathers listening and to Brother BGS, happy Father's Day. I hope y'all enjoy and get treated with the respect you deserve. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. Anything you want to say before we bounce out?
All right. Hey, don't let Juneteenth steal your joy. Let's put it that way.
All right, man. Appreciate it, man. You have a good one. All right, let me take him down. And all right, people. Appreciate y'all checking it out. Support the channel, like, share, subscribe, join, and donate so we can keep bringing it to you. And I will holler at y'all soon. Y'all have a good one. I look forward to hearing the comments. Peace.